Very pleased to welcome to the studio. Thank you so much for popping in. It's Jack Elsom, the political correspondent at The Sun. Welcome, Jack.
Thanks, Kevin.
First of all, let's talk about the deepening problems of Keir Starmer, who, of course, I thought quite impressively, I think it's 20 days ago now that Hamas invaded, some by paraglider, Israel, and committed those grotesque crimes against humanity, wiping out 1,400 innocent Israelis. Starmer at that point immediately stood up alongside almost Rishi Sunak, saying, we stand with Israel, I stand with Israel, and I back Israel's right to defend itself. And Israel is still defending itself. Now there are calls for a ceasefire. And many Labour figures, of course, calling for a ceasefire. Leave the poor Palestinians alone. Stop bombing them. Don't launch a ground invasion. Keir Starmer, I think, obviously due to Labour's problems of anti-Semitism in the past, is still standing where he was. He's still saying, effectively, Israel has the right to do this. Increasingly, Muslim members of the Labour Party, left-wing members of the Labour Party, all sorts of members of the Labour, it's just saying you've got to change this. You've got to join the calls for the ceasefire. And today, Sadiq Khan joined the fray. Let's have a look at Sadiq Khan, if we can, in action. Take it away, Sadiq.
Now likely, which will only deepen the humanitarian disaster. I joined the international community in calling for a ceasefire. It would stop the killing and would allow vital aid supplies to reach those who need it in Gaza.
Well, pointedly, that is a statement that Keir Starmer will not enjoy. How much trouble is he in here, Jack?
I think he's in quite a lot of trouble, Kev. I mean, like you said, when this first happened on October the 7th, Keir Starmer commendably came out and was resolutely in support of Israel. Like you said, he probably has in the back of his mind those dark days under Jeremy Corbyn where anti-Semitism was allowed to basically take off, and he wanted to say that that has been banished to a different era. He's a different person. Since then, we've had a crescendo of calls from Muslim supporters of the Labour Party to essentially soften his position and think about much more about the Palestinian people and the situation in Gaza. Now, fast forward 20 days, as we said, and now you have the party's two most top Muslim politicians, Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, and now in the last hour, Scottish Labour leader Anas Sarwar, saying that we must have a ceasefire in Gaza. Now, Keir Starmer's not going to be doing that. I've spoken to people in the past hour, senior Labour figures, and they say that they are going to stick to their position resolutely. But the problem is, he's now walking a very, very fine tightrope. He has to be seen to be rowing in behind Israel completely resolutely, so that he can say that I'm not the Corbyn candidate. I am the person who is really going to change the Labour Party. The Labour Party has changed. At the same time, he's got a massive Muslim voter base who are very, very important to him and his electoral prospects. And at the moment, he's walking a very fine line between having to basically placate both sides, isn't he?
And I had an imam on a couple of days ago who said, make no mistake, he said, there are 5 million Muslim votes in this country. At the moment, pretty much all of those go to Labour. He said, if Keir Starmer does not join the calls for a ceasefire in Gaza, he will lose every single one of those votes. The Muslim community are very passionate about this. Whatever you feel about what's happening in Gaza and whether or not Israel has the right to do that, the Muslim community do not feel that this bombing should continue. They do not feel that Gaza should be subjected to a land, sea and air invasion by mighty Israel. So that's their stance. Keir Starmer isn't with them on this. And the problem here is, for any normal party, his stance would be seen as debatable. Well, we don't quite agree. We think there should be a ceasefire, but you're entitled to your view. But the problem for Labour is, when you call for a ceasefire, there's no doubt about it, that's a pro-Palestinian position. It's an anti-Israel position. And for the Labour Party to be anti-Israel again, is awkward for them, isn't it? Because of their anti-Semitism problems caused by Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, and there's no way that he's going to be calling for that. So what he's done so far is essentially follow Rishi Sunak in calling for a humanitarian truce, so a pause where you can let aid get into Gaza. The problem is, as soon as you start talking about ceasefires, you're basically saying that Israel doesn't have that right to defend itself,
yes,
which he's been saying is a must. Because obviously, you know, if you were ceasing hostilities completely, you wouldn't have any action happening from Israel into Gaza, and therefore basically saying that the Israelis don't have a right to have any response to the awful butchery that happened on October 7th. So he's not going to be doing that. What remains to be seen now is how much his position holds in terms of the Muslim community. He's been on a sort of diplomacy frenzy on his with his Muslim supporters this past week. And I think that we thought until today it might have been going away, but these two big interventions this afternoon by Sadiq Khan and Anas Sarwar really turned the screw on him now.
Well, old Mr. Flip-Flop is notorious for flip-flopping, one of those politicians. Or since he set his sights on Downing Street, his position on anything is, you know, I have opinions, but if you don't like them, I have others. You know, whatever you want to hear, Keir's going to say it. Now, on this one, he's got a big problem. And it'll be interesting to see what he does going forward. But he's in trouble on this one, folks. Make no mistake. We'll be returning to that story later in the show. Here's another story we're going to do a special feature on in just a little while, but would love to get your take on it, Jack. NatWest, their share price is plummeting. After two reports essentially exonerated the former Coutts chief executive, Dame Alison Rose, who was forced to step down, forced to resign, because she told a BBC economics editor that Nigel Farage's accounts weren't being closed down for political reasons. They were being shut because he didn't have enough money, neither of which were true. She actually lied there. Also, by revealing Nigel Farage's personal financial details to a journalist, the Information Commission has said that's a clear breach of data law. So she broke the law. She lied, she broke the law. And now an internal investigation at Coutts has concluded that although she made a mistake, she certainly did that, it was an honest mistake. It wasn't an honest mistake. It was a dishonest mistake. So, in other words, because I believe, because she's left-leaning, woke, a member of the Guardian reading establishment, she's been let off. She's been let off the hook. And her punishment, she doesn't have a job anymore, but pass me the world's smallest violin. The poor lady, all she's getting as a payoff is £11.3 million. I think this is a scandal. I mean, if anyone else, they'd get their collar felt, wouldn't they?
Yeah, completely. And like or loathe Nigel Farage, those subject access requests which came out were absolutely extraordinary, essentially saying that he should be deprived of an account because of his views on Brexit and Donald Trump and his just general worldview. And for them sort of to say today that actually it was all about a commercial decision, well, for anyone that's read those subject access requests, it's pretty blatant that actually, no, it wasn't. It was to do with his views. Yeah. And in terms of Alison Rose making an honest mistake, Nigel Farage has come out today, understandably, absolutely incensed with this, because, as you said, it wasn't just an honest slip or maybe a mistaken email. This was said to a senior BBC journalist at a private dinner, who then said he wanted to check the story, was it okay to run? Apparently, then she said, oh, yes, don't worry about it. It seems to be a just complete farce. And, you know, he used the word this morning, whitewash, and I think that a lot of people might be hard-pressed to disagree with that.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, it was a mistake. It was a monumental mistake, but it wasn't honest. She broke data law. Why isn't she being prosecuted? And why is she walking away with £11.3 million when she goes around revealing customers' private details, which is against the banking code? It's extraordinary. We know what it is. It's because she's woke, she reads The Guardian, and that's the British establishment for you. Now, if you're not left-wing, you're in trouble. If you are left-wing, you can pretty much do whatever you like. Great world, isn't it?